people
It
like crazy?
was a party every day.
Whoa, I own a Picasso drawing.
It was over 100,000.
For them, it was like
all right.
Really?
They ignored me in the artist realm.
The mom artist.
That was the sound of the art world shattering.
Wow. Hello, beautiful creatives of the world. So in this episode of the Light Movement podcast, we are going to be talking about how to get into a gallery as an artist. We're not just going to be talking about that though. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things covering galleries. Why should you be in a gallery? Why you shouldn't be in a gallery? Different ways to apply to galleries. What galleries should do for artists. What artists should do for galleries. And so much more. So stay tuned till the end because we got a lot in this episode for you. Let's get to it. Just to get started, what are the different types of galleries that you could get into as an artist? Most people might think there's just one type of gallery. They see the gallery on the street that they walk by. That's the type of gallery that they're thinking of when they think of gallery. But there's so many different types.
Well, there's like fine art galleries where pieces in there. I think it all depends on the price range. I mean, you can just go, you can tell by walking in, like it looks cheap, the artwork is cheaper, it's not hung with special lighting, it's just kind of all over the place. And then you'll go into some that feel like a museum and you're feeling like kind of weird to even be in that gallery because it feels so prestigious. And then there's just so many different levels. So
what are some of the different levels of galleries?
Well, I think the location is what tips you off as to what type of gallery it is. So every city has sort of a gallery district. And in that gallery district, you're going to have a mix of retail gallery where their sole source of income is selling artists' artwork to collectors. And that's, those are good galleries. And then you're going to also see a few less galleries, but that'll be fine art galleries. And they usually have the name fine art in their title or contemporary. And so if they're called contemporary or fine art, you're going to see really expensive type of artwork, but not necessarily, always retail. And they'll be, they tend to be kind of like darker. There's not a lot of traffic going in there. There's somebody at a desk way in the back room. They're not exactly friendly.
It's used for money laundering.
I don't know. Yeah, it could be. Like, it's a kind of a mystery. And if you Google and you search like galleries and you go contemporary fine art galleries, that's when you'll see them. And you'll see like strange objects, non-sellable artwork. There'll be some sellable artwork in there, but I'm just thinking like Scottsdale. Scottsdale, Arizona is a typical gallery district place. And what you see in the gallery district is the majority are good galleries that are selling various genres of artwork to collectors on a retail level. There's going to be some galleries that are co-ops, and that is usually owned by an artist, ran by artists, and they make their money mostly off of artists renting space there. Yeah, and that's what's covering their bills. And then the profit is usually a smaller percentage, like 20% or 30% or
Meaning
less.
That's what the gallery takes from the sale of artwork.
Yeah, so the artist gets most of the money. And if those are curated and the quality of artwork is up there, I don't think they're bad galleries to be in because the artist is going to make more. As long as you keep in mind that the gallery is not pressured to sell artwork, I think you need to be there a lot, show up a lot, be there on the weekends, talk to people, and sell your own artwork and realize that gallery is not going to really sell your own artwork, but they've paid the bills to have the space in a gallery district. And the location is key. It should be in a gallery district and not, off the beaten path somewhere where people are buying art. But you also see in Scottsdale, I can think of 2 galleries that are really out there and strange, and they make some money off of events. They have events and people rent the space with strange art in the background for their events. They must get money some other ways, maybe through publications, through grants, I don't know. But it's not selling the artwork because the artwork isn't sellable. It's not packaged in a way that it can be on a wall. It's like garbage, a pile of garbage, that they're calling something, or, animal fat, or I don't know, whatever. So those are more like conceptual type galleries. And then there's a vanity gallery, which you'll see there, and that's solely off of, they're not really curated. The price points are all over the place. The artist is paying a really high price to be in there. It's kind of like a co-op, but just not as good of a business model. So location is what determines the gallery. I just described what's in gallery districts in cities. There's always a gallery, like Dallas has a gallery district. But if you go to, let's say, downtown Phoenix versus Scottsdale, you're going to see a completely different type of gallery. They're located on cruise ships, or they have pop-up situations and VIP situations, but they're a gallery that sort of extends beyond that. Or I know, White Walls is another example that's kind of like Park West. White Walls is in the UK, and they're more like a gallery curating conglomerate, and they have various markets, and they siphon artwork into those markets based on price points, locales, what the people are like there, and that's basically what Park West is doing. So this is more like a chain. So a gallery chain or a gallery corporation is going to segment out their audiences or their collectors and price points, and then curate the artwork accordingly. So I think location is what determines. There's tourist galleries.
Like gift shops even.
And gift shops, frame shops, design-oriented galleries that are always in the design center of a city or a town, where all of the lighting stores are, or furniture stores. So location, I think, determines the type of market that's going there, or clientele, and who they're catering to.
So what are some of your experiences with these different types of galleries? And have they been positive? Have they been negative?
Well, I guess from my experience, I've mostly been in the chain galleries where like Wyland or Signature Galleries or Grand Bohemian.
Yeah.
So they have...
And Park West.
Yeah, so all their galleries are spread across the US, but in cities that are very touristy, and they have a lot of people going there. And so, I mean, it's a good business model. Like, they make a lot of money selling to tourists, and they kind of choose art that fits that location. So that's what I've mostly had experience with. I think they're great galleries. I think that it is a really good type of gallery to be in, because it's smart. Like, people going on vacation, they connect with the piece of art, like, that brings them memories of their whole trip. And people who travel a lot, they have money, so it's like the perfect match.
Yeah, and these specific locations, like, the galleries are intentional about where they open up, because they know that the people that go there are going to be wealthier, because it's a wealthier city or place, like Hawaii, destination, or Florida, or somewhere like Charleston. These different places that the galleries that you've been in are. I'm curious, what do you think are some of the other factors that make these chain galleries, and feel free to pipe in as well, successful, one, and desirable for artists to be in, two?
I think that they have a strong brand, like they have a strong collector base, because they all kind of work with each other.
That's what I was going to say.
So it's like being in a chain, you're being in that one location maybe, or maybe a second location, but they kind of work with all the locations. Like they
share collector base.
Yeah. So I think it's a really great thing to be a part of, if you can be.
Probably also the awareness, because their name can be recognized in different places. Like, people who go to Hawaii probably also travel to Florida. And if they've been to a good gallery in Hawaii, and then they see that same gallery name in Florida, they're probably more likely to step into that gallery than the mom and pop gallery.
They're like, wow, I recognize that. Oh, I've been there. And
or the gift shop gallery, or So what are some other gallery experiences that you guys have had?
I've been in all kinds of different ones. So I have had a little bit of experience in the gallery that Dimitra just talked about. Not as much, I would say, as Dimitra, but I've been in also, we were in one gallery once in Philadelphia that was a themed gallery. So that's another kind of category where it's themed around a concept. So, for example, a popular one would be like animal conservation, or another one would be like, conservation of ocean, or another one could be
maybe portraits, abstracts,
impressionist landscape. You see a lot.
Okay.
But a lot of times it's around a cause.
Gotcha.
So the impressionist landscape's not so much around a cause, whereas like the the animal conservation is, you know? And so we were in a gallery in Philadelphia that was around the concept of city restoration. You know, that was really interesting because we had, for example, we had a really big sale once of this really large triptych. Might have been the most we've ever sold our work for, maybe. I mean, I'd have to like check, but it could be. And it was this really well-known gospel singer, and her whole heart and bent was on restoring Detroit, the inner city of Detroit. And so she bought this large triptych from us because it was all about restoration of a city. And so it meant a lot to her. So anyway, that was kind of interesting. It's probably my only experience with that. We've been a part of a lot of design-oriented galleries that cater to like the high-end interior design market. Those function as both wholesale and retail. So that's kind of interesting about that.
So just to clarify for like a newer artist who might not understand what you mean by that, like the wholesale means they're selling to other people who are going to resell that art.
Well,
Right.
they'll sell to designers.
Gotcha.
And so a designer has to make money off of and be incentivized to buy from that gallery versus an artist direct, let's say, or some other means. So the gallery takes a little less of the profit. The artist agrees to take a little less, and then that's how the interior decorator makes their profit. But the benefit to both the artist and the gallery, so like we would normally make say 50%, but in those cases we would make 40%. And the gallery was making 40%, and then the rest went to the designer. But the great thing is they would buy multiple pieces, oftentimes. Or that designer knew your work and would promote you because they had success with this client, they're gonna use you again. So for only 10% given up, it was worth it. And you didn't wanna like forego the business. So it was like sometimes you made 50%, sometimes you made 40%. So those were a lot of galleries that we were in because we were on the cusp of the decor market and the collector market. And I found the sweet spot for us was where those two merged, because you had collectors buying artwork, but you also had designers. And so the volume that was sold was higher than what I saw in other types of galleries. And then the third kind of gallery that I've been involved with has been, or fourth, I guess, if you count the chain, is just basically what most artists envision a gallery is like, where it's this owner of a gallery who's passionate about art, but is not an artist, and loves collecting art and having art around them, and opens a gallery, and they only own one, and it's in a place like Santa Fe or Scottsdale, or a place like that. And so we've been in a lot of those types of galleries, and they cater mostly to collectors.
Gotcha. So when you say they cater to collectors, oh, you mean they just sell to collectors? Like it's just retail?
Designers.
Okay,
or,
not
yeah.
to designers. Gotcha.
Yeah, and they really promote the artist as a person and what they're about. They like having a lot of openings. They like the artist to go there. I think the chains do too. They'll promote like, this month we're promoting this artist, this month we're promoting that. And then they'll have like a group show sometimes where you're involved in a group show with other artists around a theme.
I want to know more about Park West. I mean, I know about it, but I want the audience, the people who are watching this, the emerging artists, to know more about this sort of super exciting niche scene that Park West has created. Park West should really pay us for this promotion.
I know.
but it is really cool. So what is it that makes what Park West is doing so cool and makes us want to emulate them in the future?
Yeah, I don't know really anyone else doing it, like how they're doing it, but I'm glad and feel fortunate that I got to be part of it for some time. So it's really cool. They have like a whole group of artists that they work with, and they have, I'm pretty sure, an online gallery as well. And so they have access to tons of different art, and they have these very loyal collectors who, they do these events all over the world. Some are on land, some are on the cruise ships, but basically people come, all their art collectors come to this event, and they're treated like royalty, and it's like this really fun party. And they have this whole art experience where they get to meet some of the artists at the show. They have this big unveiling of the artwork, and then they talk about, there's like specific speakers that really elevate the artists and talk about their whole career and why their art's valuable. So they're giving so much value to the artist, exposing them to all these people and collectors, and all those people are there to buy art. They have to spend I don't know what the amount of money is, but they have to spend a certain amount of money
Like
to
10,000.
yeah, to be in this like group. So it's a very exclusive thing. I mean, it's just like a crazy business model. It's really cool. So when you're part of these shows, both my sisters and I, we did it, and we
How old were
sold.
you when you did it?
I think I was 17. No, I was 18.
So
no,
Daphne
I was 19.
okay, so Daphne
Sorry.
was 17 then.
Yeah.
And then Dolly was only 15.
Yeah,
Wow.
15, 17, 19. Yeah. So the three of us traveled and did 2 of these shows. And both times we sold a ton of artwork. It wasn't like a sellout show, but it was almost a sellout show. So it was.
And just to put it in perspective, like what is the dollar amount that is like they would sell?
Oh, the other thing is they bid the paintings. So they start at like a gallery price, like 5,000-6,000 a painting, and then people, like if there's a bidding war, they just keep climbing with
auction,
the numbers.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. How much art would you personally sell during these Park West events?
It was 108,000.
Oh, we only keep
three?
20%. Yes.
The three of you combined sold 108,000?
Yes.
Or it was 130 or 120. It was something like that.
It was over 100,000.
They
one
wanted them to sell over 150.
Wow.
And so for them, it was like
It was like, all right, like we
For
did all
Park
right.
West, it was all right, but
Yeah.
you guys sold 108,000 in one night.
Yeah, and my sisters were shocked. I mean, that was like their first time really having that gallery experience. It was my first time having your art, like my art auctioned. That was crazy, like just seeing people like bid for your paintings and
everybody wanting to meet you, talk with you, sit next to you at dinner.
take pictures together. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And they do all these like VIP things to make it a full experience. They don't just go right to the bidding. That's on the final day.
Yeah.
So they have this big unveiling. And then each of the artists speaks about their work, and they
We had a question and answer time too. People would ask us questions.
And they build it up, and they had Dahlia first, or no, they had they did.
No, they had me first, the oldest, and then they were like, and there's a third like
sister,
and
so then
she's
Dahlia
only
went last.
15.
She's only 15, so
Yeah.
then Dahlia went last, and they really like built it up. And then the next day they had a VIP event where they took all of us to. I was just there as the mom, chaperone, whatever. I got to go on a free
The
trip.
mom artist.
Yeah. But
We taught them everything they know.
But they ignored me in the artist realm.
Really?
Completely. I don't even know if they knew I was an artist. They didn't even, that never came up.
They just liked our story of the three
Yeah.
girls.
The three sisters.
Well, it makes sense from, the Park West Gallery perspective. They make their money off of like celebritizing, that's not a real word, but creating celebrities out of their artists, right?
And if they came from parents who were artists, then it maybe
downplays the whole romantic aspect of like, oh, these three prodigies.
Right. So anyway, they took us to islands, and we went to
First it was Cozumel, and then
Yeah.
it was the Cayman Islands.
Yeah. And so we go on this island, and we're all on a bus together, and then they take us out to a private beach house, and we're on the beach, and they have it all catered. And you have to keep in mind that every single day is as much as you can eat and drink and alcohol.
Oh, tons
They
of alcohol.
are liquoring up these people
It
like crazy.
was a party every day.
Every day. So they have a full bar out there with Caribbean rum and like, the whole thing, and that little umbrella drinks. And you sit by the pool or by the water on the beach. And then they had a dinner, right? And the whole purpose of it is solely for these collectors to feel wined and dined and to spend time with the artists. And
Probably each other too.
And the only artists that were there were you guys. The other artists weren't a part of this.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they divide up the trip. So they have like a 2-week trip on the cruise. And then these 3 days are these artists. These 3 days are these artists. So depending on where you are on the trip determines a lot about how much they're. So I think you guys were in the beginning of the trip.
Which is, I think, a good spot to be.
Well, kind of, but they're
It doesn't
also
matter.
holding out. They don't want to spend their money in the beginning
But
of the
some
trip.
people are like, I want to just buy my art and then I can enjoy like the rest of the trip.
Yeah.
Park West creates this amazing experience, and they auction off all the art, and they sell the art for hundreds of thousands, not per painting, but in total they sell over $100,000 worth of art in one night for the artist. What does the artist get to keep of that?
Only 20 or 15%. So it was 20% when we started doing it, and then when we stopped doing it, it was 15%.
Wow. Okay. So that is the downside to working with this sort of upper echelon elite type of gallery experience.
Okay, I want to say something about that. This will really, really help artists, okay? Because if you're going to go into the gallery route, you have to go into it with the right mindset. And what a lot of artists, what happens is they get into it thinking, oh, it's my dream to be in a gallery, because they want to be recognized. They want, you know, the beautiful surroundings for their artwork. They want the collectors to buy it. And then they get their first check, and they saw their painting sell for $5,000, and they look at their check for $2,500, or in Park West case, $1,000.
Yeah.
And they go, whoa, that is not fair. I'm being taken advantage of. I'm ripped off. This sucks. Why am I in a gallery? That gallery, right? But here's the thing, especially when you're building your career, okay? And especially if you're starting out or mid-career, you want your artwork to sell for as much money as humanly possible. You
true.
want that. And if a gallery or a Park West or an auction house can raise up the value, then you've set a precedent. And you're like, now my 48 squares sells for $9,000 when I used to only be able to sell it for $4,000. So now your value of your artwork is at $9,000 when it used to be at $4,500. And so everybody that's ever collected your art and owns a 48 square, okay, that maybe bought it for $4,000 or $3,000 or whatever they bought it for, or $5,000, it's now valued at $9,000. Now, if you dig out and you cut out of that whole plan after you've set a precedent of sales where your artwork sells a lot, and that's what happened to you, now the value of our artwork is way up here, but you sell it on your own. And if you sell it direct to the collector and you're like, this is the value of my artwork, it's worth this much, this is what people are willing to pay for it, and you sell it for $9,000, you got 100% of that.
And you can never go backwards. Once your art is like set at that level and you've sold it for that high, you can't on your own start selling it for cheaper. That's just a side thing for people to know.
Okay, so I want to ask something controversial that may be a little bit contrarian to what you're sort of saying, and that you want your art to be sold for as much as possible. What if, like is there a ceiling to that? Like, because what if, let's just say you're in these galleries and you get all the way up to $20,000 per painting for a 48 square, right? And then you're trying to sell art on your own, but now that your art sells for that much, it's harder to find collectors if you're selling it on your own to buy that. Like, so the quantity of art that you're selling is less than before. Like, say if you were at like a 4,000, like it's much easier to find people out there willing to spend $4,000 online on your website versus $20,000. And I feel like that's just how it is, like there's like a certain point where you stop selling stuff online. Because I feel like with you, the sweet spot is between like 3,000 to 6,000 in terms of selling stuff online. And beyond that, you almost have to have some sort of in-person physical like interaction with them in order to make those upper echelon sales.
I think it's just like any other product in any other industry, supply and demand. So it's true, there's probably less buyers buying at 20,000. Yeah. But there's also less artists that are capable of selling the art at 20,000.
It's very true.
Legitimately.
You have less people to compete with. There's way more artists selling their artwork between $1,500 and $6,000.
That's true. And it's almost like real estate if you think about it.
Yeah, it's like real estate.
Yeah, like there's so many people selling homes within the 100,000 to 600,000 range.
You got it.
But then once you're above $1 million that you're selling a home for, there's not nearly as many people. And there's not as much like quality out there to find. And art is so subjective too, that like if your art is truly outstanding and you are able to sell it for that higher price, then you could corner that market.
Yeah.
But I think that it's not so exclusive in that price range. I think if you're selling your work for $20,000, I think there is some sort of ceiling. Like, to go back to that question, like I wouldn't want my art probably to be $100,000 for a painting because
inflation continues at this rate.
I mean, I can't really say, but then like once you're in that level or your art's selling for millions, like then you can really only have a handful of collectors that would afford you. But there's always going to be those people. There's always going to be rich people who are like, or people who want to buy that type of art in that price range. So I think no matter what, like you'll always have that audience. You do have to start somewhere. You can't just start you can't start out selling it super expensive. You have to build your way up and like get that collector base happening and like start having the demand for your art. You can't just start out selling super expensive.
I don't think it's a one size fits all. I think every artist has their own objectives and plans and strategies based on how they like to paint and what they value personally. So I think that there's a case to be made that if an artist were to sell their artwork for $100,000 or $1 million, doesn't matter, right? You're like, well, now only, a very tiny percentage of the population can ever enjoy my work, but not really. 1%. If you are a living artist and you're selling your artwork at that level, there's all those other people that will buy a million other products. So Damien Hirst is a fantastic example of that. One of his originals, he has so many different products. He'll have, a skull that he glued a bunch of diamonds on, and there was only one made, and it's going for, hundreds of thousands. But then he'll have the print of the photograph of it, or some sketchy drawing that alludes to it, or something, and he'll sell those. He did these this whole installation I saw of splattering paint. He literally threw paint in a big wall full of canvases all day long, and they're like Jackson Pollock style paint throwing at it, which obviously has nothing to do with a skull with little diamonds on it. And then he made all these prints of these little dots, and then he went and squirted some paint on them. So he has all these price points. He has the big, huge wall painting of this thrown at, artwork. That's probably going for hundreds of thousands. The little print is probably going for 1,500 that he hand touched. And then he probably has a mass-produced print of it, or a book, or a coffee cup, or whatever in the museum shops, so look at how many people he's reaching.
That's so
it's
true.
true.
Yeah.
So
there's the higher you go, everybody here you can serve on some level with some sort of product.
Always room for growth.
But if you're down here, you there's all this here that you can't reach.
Okay, not to put you on the spot, Ellie, but I do remember we filmed a Light Movement episode maybe 2 years ago where you said...
Well, that's why I said one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah, okay.
So I said there is a case that can be made. And so I
know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? Like you specifically were talking about the artist not being a celebrity.
It depends on the artist.
Yeah.
It depends on the artist.
Your opinions can change.
Yeah,
it probably
Well,
have.
you didn't ask me what do I want to do and what my goals are.
Yeah.
That's a completely different answer. I'm just saying there is a case to be made that you can still reach a lot of people if you're up here. But there's also maybe your whole value system. That would what I just said and put out there would confound some people's value system. They wouldn't feel good about that.
So, sorry, that's where I got confused. You weren't saying this is good. You were just saying this is a business
She
model
made it sound
for
good.
an artist.
Yeah.
I'm saying this is
After
a business
listening
model.
to that, I was like, that's what I want. But,
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not one size fits all. That's
Yeah.
how I started the whole thing.
yeah, totally.
It's not one size fits all. Every artist has to determine based on what they want, what their objectives are, what are their strategies, how does that jive with their value system, and what they want to attain in life. So she said, I don't want my artwork to be worth $100,000 because of this, this, and this.
But
And so
I might change my mind about that. I don't know.
But it's based on what...
well,
Sorry,
and the truth
you
is,
can
neither
finish,
one of
yeah.
us, neither one of us have sold our artwork for $100,000.
Yeah, per painting.
Or even really close to that. So we are both like hypothesizing, and I'm watching other artists who do that and taking the experience I've had and plugging that into what I'm observing and making statements.
Yeah. So what is your ideal then? Like for your...
me?
Yeah, for you. Going back to, I don't know. And just for people who are watching, who are asking, like the Light Movement episode that I'm referring to.
Yeah, I was saying the day of celebrity is over.
Yes,
and
that's what it
the
is.
elitist art system has elevated artists into the celebrity status where they can sell only to the elites at a certain price point and then the peasants have to buy prints. And I was saying, but I'm not going to judge somebody that does that. Maybe that's not what I want to do, but if that is what somebody wants to do, their perspective on that could just be that, hey, these people can afford it. I've built my whole career. It really is worth that much. And because I want it to have legacy. And if it sold for $1 million, it'll have legacy. It'll be in museums. And that's what I want. And then I also provide these other products for people who can't afford that they can afford it. And you could see a justification for that without getting too judgmental. You're like, okay, that's justified.
Yeah, it's almost like selling 1 million copies of a book equates to selling 1 million prints, and then getting the personal one-on-one consultation from the author equates to getting the original painting.
Something like that, I guess, yeah.
I've just justified it to myself.
I think that what you devote yourself to in life is going to be like your path. I don't think that you can have it all. I think that if that's the path you want to take, then that is what you have to devote your whole life to. Like Damien Hirst, he set out to do that. That is what he's done, and that's all he does. I've chosen a different path. I've chosen to also help artists. And I want to pioneer a new way to sell art. That's what's on my heart to do. So I'm not devoting my entire life to a Damien Hirst type model. I believe, maybe this is arrogant to say, maybe this is super controversial and arrogant to say, but I think that if that's what I set out to do in my life, and I rode that path and only that path, I think I could one day achieve it. I think I have enough mettle and strength inside of me and perseverance that I could do that. But I would have to make all kinds of different strategy moves and choices and whatever to facilitate that decision. I don't think you can do the path I'm choosing to make and also live the Damien Hirst,
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned that you want to pioneer something different from what Damien Hirst is doing. What is it that you see in the future that galleries, like how galleries will better serve artists? Because that's what it sounds like you're trying to get at, sort of. You think galleries can better serve artists other than just elevating them to this celebrity status, right?
Yeah, well, I think Dimitra and I both share this vision based on our combined experience, which is very different. Your experience with galleries and my experience with galleries is a little different. Because of your age, I got to experience some of your experience because I got to come along and see. And a few times we were in galleries together, which was also pretty interesting. Yeah. But I think we share this, and what we've come away with is that to better serve the collector is to kind of steal like an artist from Park West to make it an experience. And I think that's something where galleries do fall short, and to give patrons and collectors purpose. I think Park West did that pretty well. They made the galleries, the collectors feel like they were shifting culture every time they bought art. And I loved that. That was something I came away from that experience really
What's an
profoundly
example
changed.
of that?
Well, we were at the auction on the cruise ship. I'm watching all this artwork sell, and they had sold some other artwork before the girls went up. And I remember they were selling some, I don't know, I can't even remember what it was, but it was some
Picasso drawings.
Yeah, it was like Picasso drawings or something.
Wow, right before you.
Yeah.
What an act to follow.
I know, it's funny.
Yeah, and they had this bidding war, and it was going crazy, and somebody just spent like a crazy amount of money on this like Picasso drawing, and the guy hits his gavel and crashes it down. He goes, and it's like silent, and he goes, "Do you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? That was the sound of the art world shattering." Wow. Because stand up. And then he had the guy stand up, and he's like, "You just made history." Wow. You know, and so this guy.
And if you're a collector, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "Whoa, I own a Picasso drawing. I just changed history." You know, and I felt like it's true too. It is. If you think about it, it's true. And I don't think that galleries put enough emphasis on the power of art and culture. And it's both sides. It's in the collector and it's in the artist. And so that's something we want to do, is create unforgettable experiences that don't necessarily have to be at that high level of you're buying a Picasso at, $500,000 or whatever, but that you're buying a $5,000 painting, and it's one of the warmest, amazing memories of your life. And you'll remember it forever, and you'll tell your children about the day you bought that painting. And when it hangs on your wall, it'll mean so much to you. And so that portal to that other realm that it opens up, and the possibilities of prophesying into the future and really truly shifting culture really takes root because it means so much to you when you bought it. And so we want to create those experiences, and we want the artist and the collector to have a relationship. And that's something that galleries have always tried to keep apart because they're afraid they're going to be obsolete. But if you give both the artist and the collector purpose and the experience, you are actually providing a service, and they won't want you obsolete.
Yeah.
They will want you to be a part of it. And then it could be this beautiful relationship.
So what you're saying really makes me think that it's also so important for the artist to like have this story too, like to really hone in on what makes them special. Because the reason why you guys were able to follow up Picasso on that cruise ship is because you guys had this special story of 3 young prodigal sisters, or that's not right.
Not prodigal.
Prodigy.
Maybe.
Prodigy sisters, that were able to achieve this super high level of skill at such a young age. And that's like all of you, because like all of you together worked together, it sort of, it made each of you stronger. Yeah, exactly. It just reminds me how important it is that the artist finds and develops their own story, their own unique way to tell their life experience, not just,
They got to find like their why is why they're an artist. Like what is their art about?
and what makes them special and collectible. Because they're not just buying the painting, they're also buying the artist.
Yeah, and to weed out artists that are in it for ego and recognition, and to be a somebody, and I'm going to be an artist, and then they tend to make art that's like all shock value centric, and like it's not real and genuine and authentic. That's why in our school, when we teach artists how to find their voice and identify their aesthetic, we link it up to their superpower, their pain, what they've overcome, all those things, so that it is real and authentic and something they actually care about. And the message that they're carrying is so personal and important to them that it can touch other people's lives. And it's not just about ego and being a somebody or a celebrity. So I think you're right. It's really important that artists are in touch with that and really know what their art's about, which means they have to know what they're about and where their passion really is. What is their message that they're passionate about? What's their TED Talk?
So we've sort of come a little bit off track on what we initially intended. I mean,
but it was fun.
Because it's been such an interesting conversation. Just hearing about these different stories, I feel like we could have like a whole podcast series just saying gallery experiences or working, in exhibitions and art shows and stuff like that.
And
like it's fascinating. It's fun to listen
dreams
to.
and goals, and
Yeah,
it all
dreams and
kind of
goals.
goes together.
Yeah, for the art industry just as a whole. So this podcast has been completely different than what we all 3 of us initially imagined with this, but it's been a lot of fun hearing all the stories and stuff. I think, it is getting to be a little bit long. We should wrap this up and do a part 2 next week, and we can continue from there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and actually answer the question of how to get into a gallery.
Yeah. So if you watch this and you thought that it was interesting, then make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like this video, and join us next week for part 2 of this video, where we are actually going to answer how to get into a gallery as an artist. And we will see you there. And in the meantime, maybe check out this video that's up here.